وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته فقال علي نزم الله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيئتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة والله
اللهم صل على محمد صلوات على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى دیگر صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
لحد میں تذکرائے بوتراب کر دوں گا.
ماشاءاللہ ماشاءاللہ.
لحد میں تذکرائے بوتراب کر دوں گا. سوال کوئی بھی ہو لاجواب کر دوں گا. تو فرشتوں میں بے حساب تو کیا فرشتوں میرے گناہ بے حساب تو کیا علی کو آنے دو سارا حساب کر لحد میں تذکرائے واجب صلوات.
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد.
امام کے حوالے سے بسم اللہ. باقیر حق نما کی رحلت ہے. باقیر حق نما کی رحلت ہے. برپا یثرب میں ایک قیامت ہے. باقیر حق نما کی رحلت ہے. زہر حشام نے دیا ہے. زہر حشام نے دیا ہے. آج بھی آل سے عداوت ہے. باقیر حق نما کی رحلت ہے. اٹھ رہا ہے جنازہ باقر کا. اٹھ رہا ہے جنازہ باقر
باقر کا غم میں ڈوبی ہر ایک ساعت ہے، اور آتا ہے غش امام صادق کو، آتا ہے غش امام صادق کو، غم بابا کہ ایسی حالت ہے، اور خاک اڑاتے ہیں اہل بیت نبی، خاک اڑاتے ہیں اہل بیت نبی، غم کی ظاہر رخوں سے شدت ہے، خلد سے آئی فاطمہ زہرا، خلد سے آئی فاطمہ زہرا، نوحہ گر لاش پہ رسالت ہے، انبیاء نوحہ گر ہے جنت میں، انبیاء نوحہ گر ہے جنت میں، محو گریا نبی کی عطرت ہے، اور صبر صادق کو کیسے آئے گا، عمر بھر کے لیے یہ فرقت ہے، باقر حق نما کی رحلت ہے۔ بار دیگر صلوات۔
السلام علیکم، تحفہ یا علی مدد، بار دیگر صلوات۔ یا رب المشرقین یا رب المغربین، یا رب المشرقین یا رب المغربین، یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، جو عرض کربلا ہے ہر عرض سے سوا ہے، اس خاک کربلا میں سیکا لہو ملا ہے، سیکا لہو ملا ہے، ہر لا دوا مرض کی یہ خاک ہی دوا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، میں بھی تو ماتمی ہوں، ذاکر ہوں سیدہ کا نوحہ پڑھا ہے میں نے ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا، ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا، اس ذاکری کا میری قسمت میں یہ صلہ ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب نماز سب میں بس یہ دعا کروں میں، کچھ دیر اس زمین پر مجلس پپا کروں میں، مجلس پپا کروں میں، ہر ماتمی کے لب پر ہر دم یہی دعا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، مظلومیت پہ جس کی روتا ہے یہ زمانہ، اس بے خطا کے در پر ایک بار تو ہے جانا، ایک بار تو ہے جانا۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد، بارے وسلم۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی
بارے وسلم۔ امام محمد باقر علیہ السلام اور دیگر طفلان کربلا کو یاد کرتے ہوئے ایک کلام پیش کر رہا ہوں بی بی سکینہ کا، صلوات علی محمد و علی محمد۔ میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی۔ یہ کلام لکھنے کی سعادت مجھے نصیب ہوئی جہاں ضربت امام حسین علیہ السلام ہوئی قتل گاہ کے سامنے۔ یہ کچھ اشعار ذہن میں آئے بی بی کی، کیونکہ ادھر ہی کھڑے ہو کے بی بی اپنے بابا کو قتل ہوتا دیکھ رہی تھی، تو اس انداز میں میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میرے بابا کے گلے پر وہ چلاتا تھا چھری، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میرا اصغر میرا پیارا میرا ننھا بھائی، اس کو جب پیاس لگی تھی میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، لگتے تھے منہ پہ تماچے اور کمر پہ درے، لگتے تھے منہ پہ تماچے اور کمر پر درے، کان سے کھچتی تھی بالی میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، تھے میری آنکھ کا تارا میرے عباس چچا، تھے میری آنکھ کا تارا میرے عباس چچا، جب وہ لینے گئے پانی میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، خواب میں آتا ہے منظر وہ قیامت کا مجھے، خواب میں آتا ہے منظر وہ قیامت کا مجھے، آگ دامن میں لگی تھی میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میرے بابا کے گلے پر وہ چلاتا تھا چھری، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی، میں کھڑی دیکھ رہی تھی۔ صلوات علی محمد وعلی محمد، اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد وعجل فرجہم۔ تمام مومنین سے گزارش ہے کہ اپنے مرحومین کو ذہن میں رکھتے ہوئے تمام شہدائے ملت جعفریہ، علماء حق جو مرحوم ہو چکے ان کو ذہن میں رکھتے ہوئے، اور تمام جملہ مومن مرحومین مومنین و مومنات کی ایصال ثواب کے لیے ایک دعا سورہ فاتحہ، 3 دعا سورہ اخلاص۔ بسم اللہ۔ اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. I will now humbly request Sheikh Nabil Awan to come on the member. Please recite a salawat ala Muhammad.
نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ صلوات۔
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأرضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب قدمهم الفداء، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاسب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shahada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwah al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. The holy month of Dhul Hijjah has set in, and the days of the first 10 nights are passing us by very quickly. I've mentioned here before that there are certain portals towards the mercy, towards the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Certain times, certain places, certain objects and certain individuals that will take a person from one maqam to another maqam in a very short time. One of those examples is Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. That the night of Qadr is better than 1,000 months. This better than 1,000 months, what it means is that an individual is able to transverse 83 plus years of ibadat, of various maqamat in their spirituality on one single night. In the same way, this first 10 nights of the holy month of Dhul Hijjah, these first 10 days of the holy month of Dhul Hijjah are also a portal. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, when He says, وَالْفَجْرِ وَالْلَيَالِ الْعَشْرِ, by the dawn and by those 10 nights, the Mufassirin say there are 3 particular sets of 10 nights what this could be referring to. It could be referring to the first 10 nights of Muharram, that these Layal al-Ashr, these 10 nights. And again, the Urafa, the awliya of Allah say there is a very specific rizq that is given out every 10 nights of Muharram. And each year that rizq changes. You need to be able to tap into that frequency to take hold of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving. The second possibility is the last 10 nights of Shahr Ramadan. Because we say within those last 10 nights of Shahr Ramadan may contain the night of Qadr. And we know the 21st, the 19th, 21st and 23rd is common amongst us. However, other narrations say any of the last odd 10 nights of the holy month of Shahr Ramadan could potentially be one of the nights of Qadr. Then the third set of 10 that they say is these first 10 nights of the holy month of Dhul Hijjah. And for this reason you have that famous salah that everyone should be reciting after their Salat al-Maghrib, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have that ayah, وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلًا, that referring to Hazrat Musa and going up on the mountain, and Allah said we promised Musa 30 nights. فَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا, and he finished them, and we added 10 more nights to it. And what reality, what secret is hidden in there, we don't know. But we know this much, that in these 10 nights, there is a secret that is hidden. There is a rizq that is hidden. And in the same way that Musa was told, فَخْلَعْ نَعْلَيْكَ فَإِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ الطَّوَى, that Musa, remove your shoes, for you have entered into a holy valley. This, the Urafa look at this and they say, no, it's not just the physical removal of the shoes, but this فَخْلَعْ نَعْلَيْكَ is also for us that are on this journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we enter into these specific nights, these nights which are the portal towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be it the 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah, be it the 10 nights of Muharram, be it the last 10 of Shahr Ramadan, every single individual must enter into those nights فَخْلَعْ نَعْلَيْكَ فَإِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ الطَّوَى, that you remove your shoes. What does it mean, the removal of the shoes? It is the shoes of arrogance, the shoes of pride, the shoes of jealousy, the shoes of anger. When you move all of those and remove them from yourselves, and then you enter into that wadi, then you enter into that valley that is sacred, you will achieve maqamat. So this holy month of the Hijjah is especially important for all the Muslims, but especially for the lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Because it should also be named as the month of Wilayah.
Subhanallah.
We only know of a few occasions. The event of Ghadir, the event of Mubahala. But there is much more that happened in the month of Dhul Hijjah. The first of Dhul Hijjah is the wedding anniversary of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra sallallahu alayhi wa. The ninth day of Dhul Hijjah, Yawm al-Arafah, it is common known, but it is also the day of Sadd al-Abwab, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the Holy Prophet to tell all of the companions that close your doors to the masjid. You no longer have permission to enter into the masjid from your homes. Only one door shall remain open, and that is the door of Ali ibn Abi Talib. On the 14th of Dhul Hijjah is when Fadak was ordered to be gifted to Sayyidah. This whole month is filled with these. The ayah of Wilayah, Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he gave his ring in the state of Ruqu, was in this month of Dhul Hijjah, and the ayah of Wilayah comes down. On the 18th, you all know it is the day of Ghadir. The 24th of the Hijjah is the day when Ayat Tathir and the event of Kisa took place. It is also the day of the Mubahala, where the true maqam of Ahlul Bayt was shown to everyone. The 25th of the Hijjah is when Surah Al-Insan, Surah Al-Dahr was revealed in the praise of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam when they gave away their food for 3 days. This is the month of Shaqqul Qamar, when the Holy Prophet split the moon. It is within this month. It is this month where Dua Sabah was taught to Amir al-Mu'mineen, was dictated by the Holy Prophet, written by Amir al-Mu'mineen. That dua that is recommended that you recite at the time of Fajr on Wednesday, and see what ma'arif open for you. So this whole month is the month of Wilayah. Throughout this whole month, it is interlaced with various events that take place related to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And I haven't even mentioned the other munasibats, the istishhad of Imam al-Baqir, the istishhad of Muslim ibn Aqil. All of these are all portals towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every time a shahadat or a wiladat comes, the awliya of Allah say a specific door towards the mercy of God opens, that you can then transverse towards Him much quicker using the wasila of that individual. So this whole month, there's about 27 different events that took place that are related to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in this month of Dhul Hijjah. And one of those is the one that we have come together to commemorate, and that is the istishhad of Imam al-Baqir salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. That's one Imam who Baqir, the one that breaks open knowledge. Baqir al-ulum, the one that breaks knowledge and spreads it throughout the world. These ma'arif of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam were hidden from the vast majority of the people. But because of the war that was going on between Bani Umayyah towards the end of their reign and the rise of Bani al-Abbas, this gave the perfect opportunity for the Imam to begin to now teach the people about Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, begin to teach the people about the true teachings of the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I don't want to focus too much on the life of the Imam per se. By now, I'm sure you're already used to my style of lecturing. I've been here enough times that I want to take a particular hadith from the Imam and relate it to our lives, to our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this particular hadith, the Imam says, لا يكون العبد عابدا لله حق عبادته حتى ينقطع عن الخلق كلهم. Says that no individual, no abd will ever fulfill the haqq of ibadat. No servant will ever fulfill the right of servitude حتى ينقطع عن الخلق, that he will not achieve it until he learns to cut himself off from all of existence. Until he cuts himself from all of existence. فَحِينَئِذٍ يَقُولُ, and if he does this, Allah will say, هَذَا خَالِصٌ لِي فَيَقْبَلُوهُ بِكَرَمِهِ. Allah will say, yes, this is truly sincere for me. Your actions are truly sincere for me. And Allah will accept it through His magnanimity. So let's try and understand what the Imam is saying here. First of all, the issue of ubudiyah. We know what is an abd. An abd is one that it translates to slave. One that is a slave. A slave has no will of his own. Has no desire of his own. Or if he does have, he places it aside for the desire and the will of his master. What it means to be an abd is to truly submit towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have no will of my own, no opinion of my own, no desire of my own except the desire of Allah, the opinion of Allah, the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Imam says you cannot become abd, you cannot achieve this maqam until you cut yourself off from all of existence. And this cutting off from all of existence is a common theme within the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam and amongst the ad'iyat and the munajat of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam. For example, in munajat Sha'baniyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is a line where we say, Ilahi, habli kamal al-inqita'i ilayk, wa anir absara qulubina bidiya'i nadariha ilayk. That my Lord, allow me to totally cut off from all of those that seek to distract me from you. Habli kamalan inqita'i ilayk. To cut myself off from everything and devote myself fully to you. وَأَنِرْ أَبْصَارَ قُلُوبِنَا بِضِيَاءِ نَظَرِهَا إِلَيْكَ. And illuminate my vision, the vision of my heart, by looking towards your divine light. حتى تخرق أبصار القلوب حجب النور فتصل إلى معدن العظمة وتصير أرواحنا معلقة بعز قدسك. Says, until the sight of my heart pierces through the curtains of light that separate me from you, فتصل إلى معدن العظمة, until I reach the core of your supremacy. And at that point, our souls become suspended, become absolutely devoted by your majesty, by your greatness. So being able to cut everything off. Later on in the munajat, the last part of the munajat, the last line in fact, we say, Ilahi, وَالْحِقْنِ بِنُورِ عِزِّكَ الْأَبْهَجِ فَأَكُونَ لَكَ عَارِفًا. Says, my Lord, submerge me in the most blissful lights of your majesty. فَأَكُونَ لَكَ عَارِفًا. So that I may recognize you. وَعَنْ سِوَاكَ مُنْحَرِفًا. So that I may push away, renounce everything else except you. وَمِنْكَ خَائِفًا مُرَاقِبًا. And that I will only be fearful and careful with you. Fearful of and careful with you. So what does it mean? All of these things, the munajat Sha'baniyah, Dua Kumail, all of these things, the hadith of the Imam, you will not achieve any sort of maqam of ubudiyah until you cut yourself off from all of existence. So now does that mean that I go and I live in a cave somewhere? Does that mean that I cut myself off, quit my job, go and live somewhere where all I can do is the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Much like a monk. Well, no, because that's haram as well. I can't cut myself off from society. So then what is it that the Imam is trying to say here? And Amir al-Mu'mineen explains this concept beautifully. And I've mentioned this here before, that he says zuhd, asceticism, is not that you do not own anything. It's not that you do not have a nice car or a nice home or a nice family or nice clothing or anything like that. It's not, zuhd is not that. It says zuhd is not that you do not own anything. Rather, it is nothing owns you.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Nothing owns you. You can have all of these nice things, but they should not dictate your personality. They should not dictate your sense of self-worth. That because I drive a certain car, it makes me feel good. Because I have a certain level of education, I attach my sense of self-worth to that. Or because I have a particular position within a company or a particular job, that then brings about my sense of self-worth. No, it's to be cut off. It's to have all of these things, but derive my sense of self-worth, my understanding of my own self from things other than that, pushing them aside. Those things don't define me. What defines me is what Allah thinks about me. In a narration, Imam al-Baqir himself, he says, "Man talab ad-dunya isti'fafan 'an an-nas." Says whoever desires the dunya, he seeks the dunya in one of these three states. Isti'fafan 'an an-nas wa sa'yan 'ala ahlihi wa ta'atufan 'ala jarih. That whoever goes to Allah in these three states, what will happen? لَقَى اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَجْهُهُ مِثْلُ قَمَرِ اللَّيْلَةِ الْبَدْرِ. He says that he will meet Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah, his face as bright as the moon of the 14th. What are those three states? The first, needless of the people. Cutting oneself off from the human beings does not mean distancing myself from the human beings, distancing myself from society. Rather, it is the maqam of being needless of them. Not putting my trust in them, but rather putting my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Placing my total and utter trust in Allah, and then saying, Ya Allah, you now create the path for me to trust who I should trust. It's to be needless of the people. The second, the one who in this dunya is in the pursuit of comfort and ease for his family. The one that gets up in the morning and goes to work. Why? Qurbatan ilallah, yes. But for the sake of making his family's life easier. For the sake of the comfort of his family. That person. And the third, the one that is helpful to his neighbors. If a person lives in the dunya with these three characteristics, he will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah with a face brighter than the moon of the 14th. So when the Imam alayhi salam is saying that you won't achieve this maqam of abd until you cut yourself off from the people, it is cutting yourself off from a reliance upon the people, upon a reliance upon the makhluk. That's not to say I can't take advice from people, because we have many narrations that say taking advice is guidance. But it should not be my first point of call. First is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then say, Ya Allah, you open the path for me. I'm going to this mu'min to ask his advice. Why? Because I believe him to be a mu'min that has taqwa. What is my the criteria that I'm using? It's God. So I can live in a society, but my criteria for everything must be God. The job that I get, yes, for the comfort of my family, but will it make me make my salah qada? Will it make me delay my prayers? Although zahiran what I'm doing is I'm doing it for my family and I'm trying to achieve Allah, but not by demolishing or stepping on the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed on my shoulders. So the first thing that I need to do is go through Allah. I take this job, but make sure my salah won't be qada. I don't have to lose my wajibat, and at the same time seek comfort for my family. It's always Allah at the top of it. So how is it that we reach this sincerity? Because the Imam says that until you cut off, you become, only then will you become abd. And when you become abd, at that point, Allah will say, khalisun li, that this was truly out of sincerity for me. This was truly sincere for me. Because the maqam of ikhlas, the position of being mukhlis, you know, we always say, oh, this person is mukhlis, that person is mukhlis, but actually there are 14 stages of spiritual progress before one reaches the stage of ikhlas. And the stage of sincerity, that my every single action is qurbatan ilallah. And at that point he understands what inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un means. He truly manifests it, because he knows everything I have is from Allah, and to Allah it's going to go back. Nothing I have is of my own. So whatever I do, I must do it only for Allah, because He is the only one sustaining me. Not for the crowds, not for what people will say, not for their happiness, but only for the happiness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how is it that we achieve that? Because reaching that mindset is very difficult. To be able to think like that, it takes a lot of clearing of rubbish within the mindset to be able to achieve that. So I'm going to give you 3 ways that the awliya of Allah, that the Arafat, they speak about, 3 tangible ways. The first is through being humble. Humbleness. To know that I am nothing of importance. One day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to Musa alayhi salam, He says, Musa, next time you come to speak to me, I want you to bring something that is lesser than you, that is at a lower maqam than you. So Musa says, okay, no problem. So the next time he's preparing to go to do munajat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, he begins to look around. He says, right, what can I take that is less than me? So he sees a farmer working inside a farm. And he says, this man is not educated, you know, he's just a farmer. Maybe I can take him. Then he says, wait, no, hold on. This man is growing food that will feed people. What am I doing? He's doing more than I am. So he says, okay, leave him. Then he looks and he sees a lady with a young child, and he thinks, well, she's not doing much. Maybe she's lesser than me. Then Musa thinks again. He says, no, wait. She's raising and preparing the next generation. So she's still better than me. All I'm doing is preaching to these people. But she's physically there day and night raising this person. So he says, okay, who else? He looks around the human beings, he thinks, no, this is no hope. Everyone has some sort of characteristic that's better. So he says, okay, let me move to the animals. Because he remembers that God said, bring anything that is lower than you. So he starts looking at the animals. He sees a cow. Says, cow? I mean, definitely got to be lower than me. Then Musa starts thinking, he says, wait, hold on, this cow, it gives milk, it gives meat. Still better than me. So he looks around again and he sees a donkey. He says, well, the donkey must be lower than me. Thinks, actually, you know what, this donkey, it carries the burdens of people. And so it's better than me because I don't physically carry anyone's burden. So Musa's at a loss. As he's walking back dejected, he sees lying on the ground a flea-bitten dog, just lying there. No strength in its body, covered in fleas, just in a really sad situation. And Musa alayhi salam becomes very happy. He says, finally, I have found something that is lesser than me. This dog in this state has to be worse than me, has to be lower than me. So he begins looking around for a rope to tie around the neck of the dog so he can take it to Qaim and say to Allah, look. So as he's looking around for this piece of rope, a young boy comes over and he throws a bone to the dog. And the dog begins to eat the bone and barks in happiness at the boy and wags its tail. The young boy starts laughing. Musa looks, he says, this dog, he was thankful for to the one that provided him something to eat. At the same time, he barked and wagged his tail in such a way that it made this young boy happy. And I haven't done anything like that. So even this dog is better than me. So Musa alayhi salam goes back to Qaim. Allah says, Musa, what have you brought? He says, Ya Allah, I searched the whole world. I searched everywhere. But Ya Allah, I couldn't find anything better than me. Anything lesser than me. I found everything to be better than me in some way, shape or form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him, Musa, had you brought something with you and said, Ya Allah, I am better than this particular animal or this human being, I would have removed the nur of risalat from you. I would have removed prophethood from you. Says the fact that you are dear to me is because of this reason, that you do not consider anything to be better, do not consider anything to be lesser than you. You always consider things to be more better than you. Humbleness is the first stage in sincerity. When you realize that you are not anything special, and when you actualize that and understand that, and every person you meet, you look for something that they have that you do not have, and so you begin to think them to be better than you. Even amongst the animals. Even amongst the animals, they say learn loyalty from the dog. We have hadith that say that the human being should learn loyalty from the dog. The one that feeds it once, that dog becomes loyal towards that individual. But this human being that day and night his Lord is feeding him, but he has no ounce of loyalty towards his Lord. Has no ounce of loyalty towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The brothers that are sitting at the back, the young brothers, do you want to come forward? Yeah, because then you won't get distracted by your phones. Come forward, come forward. No, you can stand up and come forward. Stand, walk. Yeah, there we are. Well done. Santon. Well done, ahsantum, ahsantum. So the first stage is the one of humbleness. To be humble, to realize that I am nothing. The second stage in sincerity is being da'im al-dhikr. To be constantly doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Constantly in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamu when talking about Imam al-Baqir, he says, Kana abi kathir al-dhikr. He says, my father was kathir al-dhikr. He would always be doing dhikr. لَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَمْشِي مَعَهُ وَإِنَّهُ لَيَذْكُرُ اللَّهِ. Says, whenever we would be walking with him, we would see that he was always in the state of the remembrance of Allah, doing one dhikr or another. وَآكَلُ مَعَهُ الطَّعَامِ وَإِنَّهُ لَيَذْكُرُ اللَّهِ. And whenever we would sit down to eat, and we would be eating, we would see that he is doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, constantly remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَقَدْ كَانَ يُحَدِّثُ الْقَوْمِ وَمَا يَشْغُلُهُ ذَلِكَ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. And he says, even when he was sitting amongst the people and talking with the people, we would see that at times he would take part in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala under his breath. I could see his tongue moving by saying, La ilaha illallah. That's that one dhikr where nobody knows you're doing it, because your lips don't move. So you can constantly be saying La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, and people won't know that you're doing the dhikr. So he would sit amongst the people and he would do dhikr. وَكَانَ يَجْمَعُنَا فَيَأْمُرُنَا بِالذِّكْرِ حَتَّى تَطْلَعُ الشَّمْسِ. That he would wake us all up, his children, and he would tell us at the time of Fajr, he would tell us and he would order us all to do dhikr, the remembrance of Allah, حَتَّى تَطْلَعُ الشَّمْسِ, until the rising of the sun. وَيَأْمُرُ بِالْقِرَاءَةِ. And he would order us, those of us that could recite Quran, to recite the Quran. And those of us that could not recite the Quran, he would tell us to do the dhikr of Allah until the sunrise. So Imam al-Baqir, it was da'im al-dhikr, constantly in the state of dhikr. Find a dhikr, any dhikr that it may be, and just constantly do that. Anytime you find yourself driving, anytime that you find yourself at a loose end, anytime you're walking or you're working and you're not talking, find a dhikr, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, Salawat, whatever it may be. Do a constant dhikr, a remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the effects of dhikr, Amirul Mu'mineen says, Inna Allah subhanahu ja'ala dhikra jala al-qulub. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dhikr has certain effects. He has made that dhikr one jala al-qulub, a way of polishing your hearts. This word jala it's often used in reference to swords that have become rusty. So the polishing method of removing that rust and resharpening that sword is what Amirul Mu'mineen is using here again. He's saying that the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will polish your heart. It will remove the rust and it will bring back the sharpness within that heart. Because our hearts at times become so rusted that we can no longer connect with Allah. I don't feel that connection. I don't feel like praying Salatul Layl. I don't feel like praying my Salah on time. I don't feel like... So when I take part in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this heart is constantly being polished. وَتَبْصِرُ بِهِ بَعْدَ الْعَشْوَةِ says, and it will give you sight after being blind. When you do dhikr, it opens your eyes of your ma'nawi eyes, your eyes of the unseen, to see things clearly. You may see right now, but there are many batin to this zahir. There are many esoteric aspects to the exoteric realm. And so by doing dhikr, you begin to see that after being blind to it. And it gives you hearing after being deaf, the Imam says, that you're able to decipher more when you're constantly in that state of dhikr. So the second way of achieving sincerity is to be da'imun dhikr, to be constantly in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third way to achieve that sincerity is to have that connection and submission to the wali of Allah.
Subhanallah.
If you can submit to the command of the hujjah of Allah, it is as if you have submitted to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You submit to your Imam, to every single desire, every single order of your Imam, and you will be able to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quicker. For Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are the curtain between existence and Tawheed. Everything goes through them to reach down to existence. And everything from existence goes back up through them towards the realm of Tawheed. If you connect yourself to the hujjah of Allah, then you will instantly be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that submission is one without questioning. One without questioning. Jabir al-Ju'fi is one of those ashab al-sir. You know, from amongst the ashab of the A'imma alayhimus salam, of the Imams alayhimus salam, there are certain companions whom the Imams would reveal secrets of the reality of this existence to. And Jabir al-Ju'fi is one of those. He is the narrator of 60,000 hadith of asrar. Not just normal hadith. Normal hadith are in the tens of thousands. But the hadith of asrar, the hadith that are of the secrets that were not revealed to everyone. He is the narrator of 60,000 of them. One day Jabir al-Ju'fi receives a letter from Imam al-Baqir. Says, Jabir, I want you to take a stick and put it between your legs and pretend it's a horse and ride around the streets pretending that you're riding a horse. Jabir al-Ju'fi, an old man, the narrator of all these hadith and a companion of the sir, and the Imam is saying ride around as if you're riding on a fake horse. Jabir al-Ju'fi doesn't question. He takes a stick, pretends to ride it round like a horse, riding amongst the children, pretending that it's a horse, yeehaw, saying whatever he wants, riding around. What was the reason? Why did the Imam command him? What was behind the curtain about this? The reality was this, that the Khalifa had written to the governor and said, whatever you need to do, make sure that you convince Jabir al-Ju'fi to come and become our judge in the courts. And if he refuses, cut off his head. So now this governor comes looking for Jabir al-Ju'fi. He finds Jabir al-Ju'fi riding a stick, pretending it's a horse, running around the children. He writes back to the Khalifa. He says, listen, Jabir's lost the plot. Putting him as a judge, forget about it. Killing him is going to do nothing for us. He's not going to make, he's gone mad. He's gone mad. And so the Khalifa says, okay, leave him. The Hujjah of Allah is aware of everything. He's aware of everything. Of your every need, of your every desire, of your every thought, of everything that you do. The Hujjah of Allah is aware of it. And so when He presents you with a command or an order, you follow it without questioning. And this is how you become one of the Ashab as-Sir. If you can commit yourself to 100% submitting yourself to your Imam, to the point where you do not question, then you will achieve sincerity with Allah. And this is how, in these 3 stages, that a person can reach that maqam of ikhlas. That Allah says, yes, your actions are sincerely for me. This is what Imam al-Baqir teaches us. But even alongside all of these teachings, everything that the Imam was teaching, that hatred was still in the hearts of the Khulafa. You know, amongst all of the events of the day of Ashura and the lead up and the travel to Sham and the return back to Medina, the vast majority of the narrations that we have come from Imam al-Baqir. At the age of 4, what is it that this Imam saw? 4 or 5 years old. Those narrations that come from him are truly heart-wrenching. For the day of Ashura, as it unfolds in front of the Imam, he says that I saw with my own eyes as Ali Asghar's thirst grew. And I saw my aunt Zainab fanning him with a shirt to keep the child cool. He says a young child came to Zainab alayha salam and said, "Oh auntie, why don't you take my brother to the tents of the children of Aqil? Maybe they'll have some water left over there. Maybe you can recover a drop or 2 to give to my brother Ali Asghar." Imam al-Baqir says, I saw Zainab alayha salam lift up Ali Asghar and go towards the tents of the children of Aqil. But when Zainab alayha salam reached there, the children of Aqil, 17 of these young children, surrounded her from all 4 sides, all of them with one hope, that if Zainab alayha salam finds some water for Ali Asghar, maybe there'll be some left over for us to drink. Imam al-Baqir says, I witnessed all of this. I witnessed on the Asr of Ashur, when the head of Abi Abdullah was severed from his body. I saw that men mounted upon their horses and would ride towards the Qatlagah, and my aunties would run and they would wail and they would hope that no, they're not crushing the body of Abi Abdullah, but they would ride down into the Qatlagah and they would trample the body of Hussein alayhi salam. And then he says, we saw them come back up again, and again they went back round, and again the hope was maybe they won't crush the body of Abi Abdullah. And then he says, we saw them turn towards the Alqama, the banks of the Furat, and we knew there was only one body left on the banks of Furat, and that was the body of our uncle Abbas. And we saw how they trampled the body of Abbas. Imam al-Baqir says, I witnessed with my own eyes how they took the head of Imam al-Hussein and they brought it to the Furat. After they had severed it, the order had come that bring the head of Hussein towards Kufa this very same night. So they took the head of Imam al-Hussein and they placed it in the water of the Furat, and they tried to clean the head of Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Baqir says, by Allah, I saw that no matter how much they tried to wash the head of Imam al-Hussein, his lips still remained dry. Imam al-Baqir witnessed all of this, and so when his life, he becomes an Imam. The vast majority of the hadith from the Imam talk about Karbala. They talk about the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, the benefits of crying for Imam al-Hussein. Or his mind was constantly there in Karbala, the tragedies and the atrocities that he himself witnessed at the age of 5. But soon came that time when the Imam was leaving this world as a result of this poison. The Imam gathered his family, he gave his wasiyah. Within the house, after the Imam had died, Imam as-Sadiq gave him ghusl. Imam as-Sadiq gave him kafan. And then when they wanted to lift the body of the Imam and take it towards Baqir, all the Shia youth gathered from the house until Baqir, and they held in their hands date palms, and they made an umbrella over the body of the Imam so that the sun would not touch the body of the Imam. And they brought the body of the Imam under the shadow of these date palms, and they brought him towards Baqir. They lowered him into the grave, but before lowering him, the Shi'as all gathered, they cried. The narration says there is one Shia that could not contain himself. He ran and he threw himself on the body of his Imam, began weeping. The others, they grabbed him, they pulled him back. They said, don't disrespect the body of the Imam. We're all in pain, but you throwing yourself onto the body of the Imam, it could cause some sort of disrespect. You move away. May my soul be sacrificed for the Gharib of Karbala, who here, there, for the body of Imam al-Baqir. One Shia going on his body, they said, don't disrespect the body of the Imam. But in Karbala, where they ran horses over the body of the Imam, that Imam who had so many wounds on his body, that Imam al-Baqir says there was nowhere on the body of Abi Abdullah that did not have a wound on it, such that now when they struck the body of the Imam, they were just striking old wounds, swords upon sights of swords, spears upon sights of spears. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. مات بحسين.
يا حسين 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 يا حسين